Welcome to another Paralives Developer Weekly Chat. This is a back-to-back video featuring the 28th of February and the 7th of March weekly chats, both of which have gone public. Starting with the 28th of February, the community's choice question is by Possible Assassin Nye, who says that they were playing The Sims 2 recently and had forgotten that they could have their teen sim run away, and doing it was perfect for the story that they were wanting to tell. They've asked the Paralive devs if they would consider something similar that teens can do in Paralives. For those of you who haven't played The Sims 2 and you've not experienced this, if your teen sim has a low enough relationship with the rest of the household, they will run away. They're still part of the household, they're just not in the house. It's very similar to in The Sims 4 when your pets run away. If the rest of the household report the teen missing within the first 24 hours, the police will find them, everyone apologizes, and it's normal after that. But after 24 hours has passed, if the police aren't informed of the runaway, then the chances of finding them gets lower, so the teen doesn't come back until they're almost fully grown, as in from teen to adult. Possible Assassin says that they would love to see something similar in Paralives, and they would potentially add maybe a way to try and contact the teen in case the player doesn't report them missing and doesn't really want them gone for the whole life stage, or if they have aging off. And says that drama like this would be amazing in Paralives, and that maybe you could even see the teen sim around town after a random bit of time and get someone to ask them to come home or something. And Anna has responded to this and has said that this is one of the things that they are actually considering. She says for now, though, they're not focusing on children and teen gameplay because it's still very early on in the development process. They don't know with 100% certainty if it will make it for early access, which is slated to be later this year, and in what details, but the ideas are fantastic and she loves them. So moving to the general questions. Entiralgo says, what is the summary of paragenetics so far? What can paragenetics currently do? What's yet to come? And if the devs want to share, what is your dream for them? And Anna says, I'm afraid the state of the genetics feature hasn't changed for quite a long time. It's one of the things that the devs are supposed to polish a little later this year in time for early access. For now, though, there's basic inheritance rule set for skin color, eye color, hair color, type, and body sliders. She says that you can play with genetics by creating a child from one or two parent characters of your household, or a sibling to a character. And she says that her dream is only to make sure that this is thoroughly tested and produces believable results for now. Zolia says that they know that the devs want to record voices using voice actors, unless that's changed. They're curious about how para voices work right now. Is it random? Do they select from a certain number of voices, or what? If they select from a certain number of voices, how many are there, and are they all recorded by different people, or are there modified versions of the same recordings? I would love to know everything you can tell me about the current state, and optionally what your plans are. And Alex has picked this question up and says, we do plan on work with voice actors to record the final voices before release. Right now you can pick a voice in the Paramaker and each voice is a different actor. We still haven't confirmed the number of actors we will work with to record the voices. It's possible we will not have many at first, but we could add more later on. Bun and She wants to know if there's going to be language for the pairs to talk to each other similar to Simlish in The Sims. Andre has picked this question up and says the language that paras speak is called Parli, and it's a gibberish-based language that the devs designed almost 2 years ago. Andre has given us a few links, a video link and a Patreon post link that goes more in depth, which I will share with you all in the description of this video. They said that there's also some snippets of Parli in the gameplay reveal video from a year ago. So far, there's been a lot of feedback saying that they should extend the words and syllables of Parli sentences, so we're definitely taking that into account for future recordings, says Andre. Personally, I really hope that Parli evolves like Simlish has, so that in The Sims, you may notice that they're starting to do a lot of things with actual proper singers, and music artists, where they take a popular song and turn it into Simlish. The person who's responsible for that actually has a handwritten dictionary of Simlish to English phrases and words that she uses when translating these popular songs from English much too Simlish. I'm really hoping that Parley evolves in a similar way. That would be really awesome. But that's just me nerding out. So let's go on to the next question. Ben Chicken has 2 questions. The first one is about other game developers, and they say that with early access being confirmed for later on in 2025, the game is starting to feel more real. Things are coming together with each recent update that fans see. It's feeling more and more like a game that players will be able to play soon. And they say obviously it's taken a lot of time and hard work to go from ideas, assists, game mechanics, tools, etc. to having all those things connecting into a game. When it comes to life sims, it's always been The Sims, so I'm excited for a new era with more choice, and the Paralives team looks like it's going to be one of the first life sims games that's going to provide another option. They say a few studios have tried and not made it, while others are on track to go into early access soon, and actually have gone into early access. They're talking there about Inzoi. And he continues to say there's a good chance your success could inspire other devs to take a stab at the life sim genre. And the question is, what advice would you offer to upcoming developers inspired by you, and what challenges have been the most difficult to overcome? And Alex has responded to this saying, I think a life simulation game is challenging to make because it's really 3 games in one. The Paramaker and build mode are really flexible and have a lot of features, so they're almost their own game. In addition to the live mode, which of course has a lot of features to develop. Developers who want to make their own life sim have to think about how they will handle all the work there is to do, and which part of the game they will start to develop first. To reduce development time, maybe a new life sim game could only focus on the live mode or only on the build mode, for instance. Ben Chicken's second question is, will Paralives have an autosave feature? Jeremy says, it's not planned at the moment, but as most things, that could change in the future. Interago's next question is, whether auto or normal, will players be able to save while not in live mode, say while we're in build mode? Jeremy responds, it is currently possible to save at almost any time. We might change this if it causes issues later on, but so far it's been okay. Moving on to the dev questions for the 28th of February. Indy wants to know, what is the task that the developers are excited to work on before early access? And we have a few answers here. Alejandro says that they are excited to implement the actions that go into items. Andre says that they are really excited for recording the voices for the paras. Chloe says town. Alice, I really like working on emotion and personality animations, and Leah has responded the town and paras. Wicked Brony wants to know what life state has been the most fun to play with. Sonia has responded the young adult or elders for the wrinkles, and Leah says the babies. Iceman asks, what technical hurdle from 2025 are you most proud of conquering so far? Alejandro says, I had to do a Pythagoras the other day. I'm very proud of myself that I remember how to do it. Andre's response is not related to work, but I had to do the sound engineering for my band at a recording, and it ended up being pretty good. And Alice says, I avoid technical stuff. Indy wants to know what part of the lore the developers are most excited about to work on. Alice says that she's very excited about everything town related. Sonia says that she's interested or super excited about creating townies and their lore. And Charlotte says, I'm very curious to hear about the townies and potential relations between them. Moving to live mode, Indy wants to know if burglaries or burglars are planned. Jeremy says, not at the moment, this might come later, but the game will probably launch in early access without burglars. Indirago's question is inspired by Spooky Boy, and the question is, would there be a way for parafolk to show up more often on a public lot that matches their interests? And they say that Spooky specifically mentioned a lot trait, as in since Sims get together, combined with a together card option to get people to go there. And they also suggested a set typical hangout option. Interago's personal thought is a little more solo and based on autonomy. Maybe based on vibes/skills and what their friends are doing. They say, I think both ideas are based on lots having traits or label, for example, a library. What are your thoughts? Anna's weighed in on this, and she says that the development of town autonomy is planned for a little bit later in 2025, but the idea is to make parafolks show up on public lots depending on their personality and interests. It could be a mixture of things, personality and skills, but also time preferences. If they're a night owl, they might have more of a chance to be seen at the library at night, or even the job they have. She says that it could also be a little random so that game characters are not seen every time at the same spots. I don't know if the lots will have traits or labels, but it could be a way to set this up. Manny Putty has an idea from another Discord channel saying that in the chats they were discussing libraries. And they say, we talked about how there could be clubs outside of school like TTRPGs, manga, book clubs, even volunteer work like selling books at book fairs that don't get checked out much. Personally, I like the idea of an archives that could hold newspapers and records, microfiche machines, and reference books that you aren't allowed to check out. What are your thoughts on this as a town addition? You could keep track of your paras and their places in history, or even ancestors that may or may not be generated. This could be great for legacy players and building town lore. Personally, I love this idea. That would be a really cool way for legacy players to keep track of their family history. Paras could go into this place and research their family tree, which I think would be awesome. Anna's responded to Manny Putty's question and says, a school club would be nice. I'm not sure if they're going to be active activities, at least for now. It's not planned to have active clubs for early access. It would be nice though. Generating ancestors is also a nice idea, and it would be nice to get a little extra information in your family tree. Manny Putty has a second question and wants to know if there's any plans or considerations of control over demographics when creating a new town, like having a certain height, size, and placement of features, gender, orientation, etc. dominate the others. They say, I figure this would be helpful for generating your own ethnicities and populations without having to make each one individually. Slider ranges might help, but I don't know about skin tones. Alex says that could be fun. We will work on the tools to create new towns after the initial early access release, and I can keep the idea in mind for when we get there. That could be really, really interesting. Moving on to the 7th of March's weekly chat, and the community choice question is by My Lord Gui, Poutine Connoisseur, who wants to know, will there be a train and train station in the city? This is on the back of the latest Sims 4 world that has been added that has a train station. Alex says that would be a great addition to Paralives one day. Moving to the general questions. Possible Assassin Nye has a curiosity question. Last week, the answer to my question made me start to wonder if you start with young adult or adult gameplay because it's something that most players will do, and you can just scale any animation and interactions for the other life stages. Or is it kind of just one of those things that just happened like that? Alex responded with, we started with adult gameplay to start somewhere, but we also thought early on about how to adapt the animations to the other life stages, as well as to create interactions and animations just for them. Right now, the developers are integrating content for all ages, and they will be adding more and more. Juice Drop wants to know about music, in particular what songs the developers have in mind for the game radio stations. Will the songs be made in-house, or are they going to get local or smaller artists to contribute? Andre has responded to this by saying, I would personally love to do songs with many local artists since I really enjoy doing collabs, but it'd be cool to do as many as I can on my own. Andre says that they love the idea of producing many songs in many different genres, but we'll see when we get there after early access. The Sims do popular artists. It would be really cool if Paralives did smaller indie artists. I'm thinking like your YouTube artists like Stupendium or Ministry of Sound and so on. Moving to the live mode question. Enterago says that they had a silly thought while reading the dev chat answer about generating ancestors from the 28th of February. And they say it could be like cartoons where the ancestor looks just like your para, but in an old-fashioned haircut or a period-specific hat or a cave leopard print wrap. Although this is a silly idea, they feel it might be easier to make a clone of your character rather than having genetics track back through the generations, so maybe there's a practical side to it too. Anna responds that she likes the idea. Then Chicken's question is regarding The Sims 3. They've recently found lot challenges in The Sims 3, such as when you move into a lot, you see a pop-up of a few different events that might occur, such as a small meteor striking the house that you bought. If you accept the challenge, it will trigger the event, and you have to fix the problem through gameplay. If you ignore the challenge, then everything returns to normal as though the challenge never happened. And Ben Chicken wants to know if it's something that the developers of Paralives might consider, and if so, would they make the opportunity for these kind of events happen more often in different circumstances? Alex has responded by saying that is a fun feature, and that the developers are planning on various events that can happen to your lots and around town. things like power outages, fires, flooding, and more. For now, fires are confirmed for release, and more events could come later on. Alex says, I see how The Sims 3 suggests a challenge through a pop-up. Eventually, developers could do something similar or test other ways to do it in Paralives. America Online subscriber has a question about careers and wants to know if the team is considering having more traditional career paths where you advance from entry level to leadership roles. For example, a para might get a job as a junior game developer, get a few pay rises over time, and then build enough skills to get a promotion to a mid-level game developer, then senior, etc. Growing a para's rank within a single job level over and over, they say, it does not feel realistic, so they wonder what paths the developers are exploring that are more similar to real life. Jeremy has responded and said that in Paralives, if players want to move from one role to another, they will be able to do so by changing jobs or titles, sometimes at the same company, sometimes to another business. The aspect is not lost in their system, but players' progress is a bit different for sure. Jeremy continues by saying that paras can start as an engineer and move to a management position when they have enough application points, for instance. Or you can decide to have your para stay as an engineer forever. He says they're not considering alternative systems at the moment, so they hope that players will have fun with their system. And he says, it's a bit funny because my own life job experience has been exactly that. Growing at a company at the same position or job level for many years, and then finding better opportunities somewhere else. Ben Chicken wants to know if there will be options for paras in non-heterosexual cisgender relationships to get pregnant. For example, 2 female paras. And in The Sims 4, we've got the science babies. Anna has answered Ben Chicken's question, and this is a really interesting answer. She says the ability to get pregnant or to get others pregnant should be selectable independently from sexual preferences or gender, so yes, it should be possible. This is awesome. So from the beginning, we're going to have 100% true choices with our paras that we've only recently gotten in The Sims 4. I am very, very happy to hear that. Manny Putty wants to know if it will be possible to have paras able to mix random ingredients together to create their own type of dishes instead of following a standard recipe. They say, I understand if it's a little out there, but it'd at least be interesting to attempt to make your own thing. Perhaps alter an existing recipe even. Either way, could it maybe be possible for paras to pass recipes to others like family? And again, this is another feature of the latest Sims 4 expansion pack, where you can now create family recipes that are passed on from one generation to the next. Jeremy has responded, saying that Paralives' cooking system is pretty utilitarian at the moment and might not change much before early access, so how it'll work in the future is in the world of possibilities right now. Currently, players can select recipes and have them cooked without the concept of ingredients even being taken into consideration. But he cannot wait to work more on cooking though and flesh out even more. Let me know what you think about these Paralives weekly chat questions in the comments below, and if you haven't watched the previous video, you can do so just over there.